Let's make some delicious plant-based apple turnovers. Welcome back to the Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show, where we make plant-based cooking easy. I'm Jill, and we are going to make these beautiful apple turnovers because it is apple season still, and North Carolina happens to have a lot of amazingly beautiful apples. So I posed a question to our supporting members on which apples they would suggest using for apple turnovers, and the consensus was mainly Honeycrisp, which happens to be one of my favorites, as well as a lot of other people. They are just an amazing, all over, crunchy, juicy, sweet, tart apple. But I'm also going to combine it with Granny Smith because it's a tartar type of apple too. It's great for using in apple pies or that kind of thing because apple pies tend to be really sweet. You need something to kind of break up the sweet, and the Granny Smith is super tart, so that'll be a really nice balance. So we're going to get our apples going first. Like I said, I have some Honeycrisp and Granny Smith. This is about 3 cups, so it's about 2 apples, 1 Granny Smith, 1 Honeycrisp that I just chopped into little chunks like this. We're going to get that in our pan. And then I'm going to make this mixture, which is going to be kind of I don't know what you call that, the sauce that's typically in an apple turnover. So I've got 1/2 cup of water, 8 deglette dates. If you have medjool, it's roughly 4, because usually 2 deglettes equals 1 medjool. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. This is 1 teaspoon of lemon juice, 1/2 teaspoon, or is it 1 teaspoon? 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 tablespoon of arrowroot powder. And if you don't have arrowroot powder, you could also use just your regular cornstarch. So we're blending these really just to mush up those dates and get it to be a really kind of thicker sauce to cook into our apples. Okay, so that we're just going to put in here with our apples. And those dates don't have to be completely pulverized. It's always nice to get a little teeny chunk of date inside of the pie. So we're just going to let this cook, on probably like medium for anywhere between 5 and 10 minutes, really until those apples are just getting tender and that sauce is kind of thickened. And if you feel like the sauce looks like it's already a little too thick, you can always add just a little bit more water. But as those apples cook, they're going to release a little bit of that liquid. So that's why you want to keep it on kind of a lower temperature so that it doesn't scald to the bottom of your pan. All right, and while those are cooking, I'm going to get out my ingredients for the crust for that beautiful turnover. All right, now we're on to that dough. And just as a correction in the apple mixture, instead of lemon juice, it was white wine vinegar or apple cider vinegar. Okay, so we are going to start here with 2/3 cup of rolled oats. And I always use organic oats just because regular conventional oats are sprayed with glyphosate and you don't want that in your food. So opt for organic. Okay, we're just going to pop that into the bowl along with 1 cup of almond meal or almond flour, a tablespoon of flax meal, a tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and that's going to kind of give it that buttery flavor because typically these apple turnovers are made with pie crust, which is usually either lard or butter. So that is what we're doing to replace that. Now to give it a little bit more of a golden color, we're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of turmeric because some of these doughs like this, because there's no refined sugars and it's not using a white flour, it doesn't brown as well. So that's going to give it a little bit of that golden color. And we have 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract and 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And then our secret ingredient here is our mashed sweet potato puree. So this is a white sweet potato. I'm just using this to give it more of the dough look But if all you can get are the orange sweet potatoes, those work just great too. Your dough's just going to be a little bit more of an orange color and you won't have to use the turmeric. Okay, I'm going to stick that in there. And you're just going to mix this together. If you want to use a pastry cutter, that works great too. But I'm just going to kind of cut it in with a fork first, and then I'm going to mash the rest with my hands. And if you want the ingredients all written out, there'll be a link in the details below to the printable recipe. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm just going to do this with my hands, just to mash it together better. It's kind of fun just to work with your hands, you know, just like a regular pie dough, you would be working with your hands. This is one of those perfect recipes for fall. If you're just getting ready for Thanksgiving or thinking about your Thanksgiving recipes, this is one to just get you a little bit more excited about those apple pies that I'm sure you're gonna make. All right, we're just about there. Now it all comes together really well. I'm just gonna kind of press it into a ball, because that's how we're going to divide this up. And we're going to divide this up into 6 pieces. Or you could do 8 also. They would just be a little bit smaller if you do 8. Okay. Just going to press this down in my bowl a little bit, and I'm going to set that aside. And then I'm going to get my pan and my tortilla press. Yes, my tortilla press. It's a great tool for this next step. So if you have one, great. If you don't, you can just use a rolling pin and a piece of parchment paper. While we're waiting for that, I'd like to share some background on our show. The Whole Food Plant-Based Cooking Show is crowd-funded, which means these free weekly recipe videos, along with our entire catalog of free printable recipes on our website, plantbasedcookingshow.com, and our Plant-Based Cooking Made Easy cookbook series, are all made possible in part by the generous patronage of our supporting membership community. So if you love our recipes, I invite you to join us on our mission to make plant-based cooking easy, and follow the link in the description to become a supporting member today. There's no denying the plant-based diet is a nutrient powerhouse, but did you know there are a handful of hard-to-get nutrients even well-crafted diets are often lacking? The latest research suggests that complementing your diet with a few specific vitamins, minerals, and omega-3s will help boost your energy and keep you thriving for the long term. That's why my daily health routine includes Complement Essential. Complement Essential contains the 8 critical nutrients lacking from most plant-based diets in dosages optimized specifically for us. Plus, Complement is completely transparent about ingredient sourcing and third-party testing, publishing the results directly on their website. As a special discount for our viewers, just use code PLANTBASEDEASY at checkout to save 15% off of your order. All right, so before we assemble these, your oven needs to be preheated onto 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're going to take one of our sections out. Like I said, there's 6 sections, but if you want them to be a little bit smaller, you'll know after you make your first one about the size. So I'm using my handy dandy tortilla press here because it makes the most perfect evenly rolled or squashed pastry. And it's perfectly round, which is perfect for what we're doing. But you don't have to press quite as hard as what you would do if you were making corn tortillas, because this is a very, very soft dough. I mean, look at that. Is that perfect or what? So you just carefully peel that off of there. Leave that on there for the next one. And I put it right onto my cookie sheet because they are kind of delicate. And then we're going to scoop on our filling. So you just want to, you're going to have to kind of, gauge your apple mixture as you go to make sure you have enough for all of them. But you just put your apples onto one half, then you fold the other half over the top very carefully. And then you want to kind of gently press. Now this one's breaking up a little bit, but that's okay. Press down the edges just to kind of seal it. But since this doesn't have a whole lot of juice in it, you're not going to have a whole lot of leaking going on. There'll be a little bit, but not a ton. Just like that. All right, I'm going to make up the rest of them, and then I'll show you when I'm done. All right, all 6 are done, but before I stick these into the oven, this is the new apron design. If you're looking for an idea for holiday gifts for your friends and family, along with our cookbook, check it out. It'll be on our website. So now we're going to stick these into the oven for about 30 minutes. All right, guys, they're out of the oven. If you want to come take a look. Not perfect, but they'll do and they taste delicious. Just a note on the dough, if you are struggling with the dough breaking, like I did on a couple of these, it's beneficial if you put it in the refrigerator and let it cool for about a half an hour, just so it can kind of meld together a little bit better. Then I think it's going to be a little bit more pliable and easy to work with. So the only thing left is, this is completely optional. You can eat them just like this, or we're going to make just a simple little glaze. Like usually there's a little bit of like icing sugar mix that you would kind of flick over it or drizzle over it. That's what this is going to be sort of like. So what I have is 1/4 cup of cashews, 3 deglette dates, a teaspoon of lemon juice, a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and a third of a cup of water. Whoops. We're going to put that in our little blender here and blend it up till it's really, really creamy. And that might just take a little bit of work back and forth with your blender and scraping it down to get it really, really nice and creamy. Also a tip on this frosting, I forgot to tell you, I let this sit in this mixture and let it soak for a couple hours, just to really soften up the dates and the cashews before you blend it. Just as simple as that. I'm going to serve this on the side because I feel like the drizzle's a little bit tough to do with this mixture, but all that's left is to meet you at the table for a taste. All right, let's taste one of these guys. They're still pretty piping hot, so I hope I don't burn myself. So I'm going to dip it in a little bit of the icing sugar. Oh. Sweet but tart. That crust is crumbly but rich. You're gonna love it. Come on back next week for another great recipe.